Welcome back to Neuroconversant Leadership, where we talk about effective communication in the STEM workplace. I'm Jeremy Dorn, and I love helping engineers make the journey into management and leadership. What is your leadership style? Is it consistent? Do you even know what it is? Today, we're going to talk about 4 different leadership styles and the pros and cons of each. The first style is a system style, and a saying that they might use is, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So system style leaders tend to go with the status quo, and they're going to go with what has always worked. It's in place for a reason. The good thing about it is these people tend to like to build systems, and systems are repeatable and consistent, and there's structure. They're less likely to have unforeseen problems because you're using an existing structure. And in some things, like engineering problems, building a bridge or an airplane, you can't just kind of wing it. You have to have systems in place so that everything can be done correctly. The downside is that it can stifle innovation. And it sometimes is the case that there was a reason why it was done a certain way, but now with newer technology or new materials, it doesn't need to be done that same way. The famous story is of a person who wanted to make a ham. And so he called his mother and he said, "How do I make this ham?" And she said, "The first thing you do is you cut off the 2 ends of the ham," and then gave all the rest of the ingredients. He made the ham and it was wonderful. And he was thinking, the next time I make this, I'm going to get a bigger ham to compensate for cutting off the 2 ends. Before he did, he called his mom back and he said, "Why'd you cut the ends of the ham off?" And she said, "Well, it's just always been done that way." And he said, "Where did you get this recipe from?" She said, "I got it from my mother." And long story short, it turns out the pan that they cooked the ham in wasn't big enough, so they had to cut the ends off. His new pan was plenty big enough. His oven was plenty big enough, so he never had to cut the ends off a ham. So sometimes using a system that's always worked isn't necessarily the best system. A peer leader, their saying is that they want everyone to be happy. So they prioritize making people happy and doing what's right and what's fair for everybody. The upside is your people are going to like you. You're doing your best for them, and so they're going to like you and they're going to want to do their best. They're going to be willing to run through walls to help you. And it's been shown and proven that when people feel seen and heard, they're more engaged and they're more productive. The downside can be that sometimes what's going to make everybody happy is not the right thing for the business. Sometimes really hard decisions need to be made. If, for instance, there's someone who is not good at their job and they really should be fired, someone who's a peer leader may hesitate to fire them. But by doing that, it's dragging down everybody else. And so that's unfair to the most people. So sometimes hard decisions need to be made that aren't going to make everybody happy. Boss leadership, their famous saying is, "It's my way or the highway." So in a boss leadership style, you're going to give commands and expect them to be followed without discussion, without comments. I say it, you do it. It is very fast and it's very effective. If, for instance, a building's burning down, you're not going to want to discuss and explain why a certain thing is the best course of action. You're going to say, "Get out of the building right now. We'll talk about it later." When something needs to get done right then and it's not open for discussion, acting in this way is the best way to get things done. The problem with it is you have to use it sparingly. The more you use it, the less effective it becomes. If you're always just yelling at people to do things, then it's going to start chafing and they're going to get less and less receptive to that. And the fourth style is the goal style of leadership. And what they would say is, we're going to do what it takes to achieve the goal. They don't necessarily have a preconceived notion of the best way to get a thing done, and they don't necessarily care who gets the credit. What they really care about is getting the goal achieved. The pros are that it's collaborative, it involves other people, it involves their ideas, so you come up with sometimes the best solution possible. And because you're not really worried about the credit, people are willing to work together as a team. There's a famous saying, you can achieve any goal in the world as long as you don't care who gets the credit. That's the upside of the goal leadership style. The downside is it can be taken too far. If you are going to want to achieve a goal at all costs, no matter what, that can lead you down some slippery slopes that are either illegal or immoral or just not right. So if it's taken too far, it can be a problem. So what's the best style, and what's the best style for you? Every leader uses all four at some point. There are different situations that lend themselves to the different styles, but most people tend towards one. I personally think that the goal style should be the primary style for most managers. It's flexible enough that it allows you to realize when maybe the peer style or the system or the boss style are more appropriate, because you're not tied into one type of solution. You're willing to look at different options. So think about which one you are. Are you a boss leader? Are you a system leader? Are you a peer leader? Or are you a goal leader? And after you think about what you are, look at other managers and try to identify their primary style and see when you think it works for them and when it doesn't. So when a new situation comes up for you, think about what your tendency would be, and then think about whether or not maybe a different style would make more sense. I'm really interested in hearing people's feedback on what their style is when they think it works and when they think there's a problem. So if you get a chance, please send me a note either on my website, neuroconversantleadership.com, or on LinkedIn, where you can find me, Jeremy Doran. Thank you so much, and have yourselves a great day. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Neuroconversant Leadership. I hope you're entertained while also learning a thing or two. Did this episode remind you of anyone? Do you think that person might appreciate this podcast? If so, please send them to my website, www.neuroconversantleadership.com, where they can listen to the episodes, or send them a link to whatever platform it is that you're listening to this on. Thanks again, and have a great week.